Bigger. Can you do that? Well, I thought that's what you were doing. See where it says view. Full screen. Okay, now. Hello, Franklin.
Hi, Robbie.
Oh, there you go. Seem like we're the first two to get on, aren't we?
Yeah, you're always early. You're pretty good at that.
Well, I try to be. See, tonight is
Off. You know you have your video off?
what?
Your video's not on.
Isn't it?
No, it's not showing anything.
Well, let me take a look here. It's on now. I can see my video. I can see yours. I can see Mike's.
That's weird. You can
There,
see
I was muted. Sorry.
Oh,
Let me see if I can reset that maybe. Huh. Yeah, I can't see you or Mike.
I can see you, Franklin.
Can you see Robbie?
Yeah. I don't see John. He's muted, and also
Oh, I'm here.
video's not on or something.
I'm here though.
You're there. Good. Okay.
so tonight's the V-tube tonight.
Sure.
Franklin said it was phonographs.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Well, that's right. Last month was
Last month was V tubes.
Oh, okay.
Gonna do the VR 150, and then the Howards ended up taking over. I guess Franklin told me that was just a really great deal. So I'm really thankful for them for doing that, because I'm pretty sure that I have or had one of the two, the Omicron.
Mike, I'm going to make you the host real quick, and then I'm going to back out and come back in.
Okay.
Because I'm not getting your guys' video. So I just made you the host.
So what, do I do anything or what?
Nope. When you just
Okay.
give it back when I get back.
Okay.
Gotta push a few more buttons, huh?
Hopefully Franklin will be able to come back in.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't even get on Zoom. I felt so bad, and I'm getting tested tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure I had it, and I'm almost over it.
Well, you look pretty good. You don't look like
Yeah, I feel great today.
you
Yeah.
don't look ragged and run down.
Yeah, I was though. I was really ragged and run down there last week, and so, but it's good news though. I was talking to Blake about it, because Blake tested positive too, and I haven't been tested, but I think I've got it or had it. I don't know if I'm over it or what, but he said that he talked to a nurse and his brother and some other people, and that if you have the breakthrough, if you're vaccinated and then get the breakthrough case, like, 'cause that's what happened to me, and Blake both, we were both vaccinated. I had Pfizer twice and ended up getting the Omicron anyway. That once you're over that, then you have what they call super immunity.
You kind of
You have like 1,000 times better immunity once you get over a breakthrough case than by taking any vaccines or anything else. So I'm thinking maybe, that's good news in the long run. So I'd be thankful for that.
It's kind of like taking the booster shot.
Better than
Yeah, well, I'm not even gonna bother taking the booster shot.
You got a metal booster shot.
Yeah. Anyway,
how you feeling, Mike?
I feel great.
Oh, good.
Feeling really good today. I finally got my energy back yesterday afternoon to today was such a nice day too. And I went out and I worked out in the shop all day, just felt great, and came in and helped Janet around the house and helped her make dinner and all that business. And so I'm feeling good. Got just a little bit of a hack left in my cough a little bit, nothing serious, just a
How's
little
Janet,
left over. Huh?
How did it affect her?
Janet?
Yeah.
She seemed to have the same kind of thing I did, and now she's starting to feel pretty darn good too.
Oh, good.
So
Fantastic.
I think it's good. It was good on both of us. And rather than get the full-fledged COVID, getting this Omicron, I think is a pretty good deal. It's not as bad, in other words.
And that's providing you don't get sick.
Yeah, well, you do, but you don't get as sick. That's the whole thing. That's the key.
They said on the radio that it was 17 times more. If you're not vaccinated, it's 17 times more contagious than the regular one.
Yeah, it's really contagious. I can guarantee you that.
Well, it's upper respiratory, so that makes a whole difference there too. Because
it does, yeah.
It's different when it's upper respiratory. So, hi, Dave.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
How are you doing, Dave?
Hey, I told my wife I was having a antique radio club meeting, and she says, "Who cares about antique radios?"
Sounds like Robbie's wife.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then I told her if she told me she was watching a ballet, would I say, "Who cares about ballet?" No.
Hi, Lyles.
Yeah.
Hi, Lyles.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm doing a lot better. I'm feeling real good.
What'd you have? Did you have
I think
COVID?
I had I believe, and it hasn't been, I'm getting tested tomorrow, but I believe I had the Omicron variant.
Okay, did you feel bad, or was it not too bad?
Well, it was bad, but not life-threatening or anything like that. It was like having a bad case of the flu.
Oh, that's not fun.
No, it wasn't fun at all, and no
No.
energy, fever, had like knife blades in my throat, felt like sore throat, So it was definitely not fun, but it wasn't anything that I felt like I had to go to the hospital or doctor or anything over.
How long did it last?
And, stayed home, and all that. And then I got over it. And now I've got my energy back and feeling pretty good.
Well, how long did it last, Mike?
About 2 weeks.
Oh, that long. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I came down with it on January the 2nd, Sunday. And then I pretty much got over it. Well, let's see. No, that's like a week and a half, I'd say. Yeah, that's a week and a half, and pretty much got over it today. So
Did you use Chloraseptic for your throat, or what helped?
yeah, I used all that stuff. Theraflu, that's what I used mostly.
Theraflu,
And
okay.
used that, and then just ate a lot of fruit, ate a lot of oranges and stuff like that, and
Got to run out and
then
get that stuff
took
because
vitamins and all of that kind of business.
it's all running out in the pharmacies, is what I hear. But I guess I got to go out and get some.
Yeah,
Just put it on hand.
but it's highly contagious. I believe I got it from my daughter-in-law, and I don't know where she got it.
Yeah, my neighbors, I have 5 neighbors up and down the street that all have it now.
Oh, wow.
Just one house right after another.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
seemed like it just spread like
like the wind right down the street.
Holy cow.
But they're pretty well over it now. So
Well, good. Yeah, that's
staying away from their houses.
Yeah. I don't know when the incubation period is to get it. I got it from my daughter-in-law when she was pretty ill with it, when she was pretty sick. And so, but I think when you get over it, then I don't know if you can pass it on or not. So it's hard to say. I'm going to be interested to see whether I test positive or not tomorrow. Because I may be over it and I may not. I have no clue. I'll have to see.
How you doing, Bruce?
Pretty good.
Yeah, hi Bruce.
On the 20th of December, 94-year-old gal was having her birthday. And all the kids and grandkids and my sister-in-law all had their shots. Well, the day after, turned out one of the granddaughters turned up positive. And by Christmas, no, the day after Christmas, so that'd be 6 days, 9 out of the 12 all had tested positive.
Yeah.
And we had the sister-in-law for Christmas dinner here. And she had been testing daily and was all negative until the day after Christmas.
Oh, no. Jeez.
So then, of course, we had to go get tested.
Yeah.
And because of my cancer and the chemo and all that, we ended up going and getting the real test over there, the other side of Providence there.
PCR?
What's that?
Yeah.
PCR, that's what I got, PCR ATM1.
Yeah. Anyway, we were both negative.
That's
Good.
And that was 5 days after our possible exposure.
Well, you
Well,
got a good immune system.
What's that?
You got a good immune system to it then.
Yeah.
Well, it's improved quite a bit since I'm off of the hard chemo anyway.
Well, I
And
felt really
and
bad because I felt just great and no indication of anything at all. And I had been vaccinated twice.
Yeah.
So I went up to see Blake on Saturday, the 1st of January. And we went up there and spent a nice afternoon in his garage and went over a couple of radios, and one he was working on, one I was working on, and blah, blah. And I picked up some parts from him and all of this stuff. And we had such a good time, you know. Then I go home and then woke up Sunday morning and felt like that knives in my throat. I had a high fever up to 101 degrees. I was burning up. I felt like all of a sudden this thing just hit me like a lead balloon, you know. And
wow.
I told Blake about it. I says, I think I've come down with something. I don't know. I didn't know if it was the flu or what. And then he told me he was okay. Well, then the next day, then Blake came down with it. And I'm just going, oh, man, I felt terrible.
3 days.
I had no idea.
Later.
When we had our Christmas party, I had, well, we had a lot of people in the house and our kids and grandkids. And just to kind of keep the heat uniform in the house from all the body heat. Plus, we've got these big, thick MERV 13 filters in the furnace. And, you know, that might have made a difference.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure my sister-in-law, well, the next morning she tested positive. So, you know, she must have been carrying something with her.
Well, next time somebody tells you that they don't know what they're going to get you for Christmas, tell them not to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot better today. So
Good.
Yeah, me too.
You guys sound a lot better.
I'm not quite as ornery as I normally am. So I know I'm not 100%, but that'll return.
Yeah, you were a little croaky last week.
Same here.
Yeah. last weekend I did nothing but sleep. I slept in the chair, slept on the floor in front of the fireplace, slept on the couch, slept in my bed. I think I ate dinner, but I may have slept through that too.
Oh, wow.
Those are the 2 bad days, and really the rest of them have been pretty much, just a bad cold. So I'm glad that the vaccines and boosters work.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thing you
So,
didn't land in the hospital. That'd have been worse.
yeah,
Yes. I don't like going to hospitals. Only sick people go there.
Yeah.
And one of my ex-bosses.
And you go to the hospital and you're likely to get something else.
Yes.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah, it's not a good place to be.
We doing phonographs tonight? Is that what the specialty is?
It's supposed to be.
Franklin said,
Did you see next week's?
Yeah. I got one.
All right.
There it is.
that's pretty nice.
I don't know which is better, the phonograph or the music.
yeah, right.
What's the music group? The Tokens.
Yeah, tokens.
I can't see, it's going around too fast, but it's the Lion Sleeps Tonight.
I'm going from memory. I'm gonna guess it's the Tokens.
Let's see. What does it say here? Weemoep, Mboob, Robert John. Yeah, Robert John, it says. It's on a original release. Oh, it's got a date on the record. Well, maybe not, just a code. But yeah, it's on an Atlantic Oldies series. Robert John.
I could be wrong on the group too.
Your volume's down,
Mine is,
No,
or Blake's is.
Blake's.
Oh, mine is? Probably because I don't have the thing aimed at me. Is that better?
that's better.
Yeah.
Is mine okay? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
fine. Yeah, it
Well,
just
that's a nice one.
says Robert
Okay.
John, produced by Hank Medras and Dave Appel. So this may not be an original. It sounds good though.
It sounds original.
I got Zoot Boogie. Shout, one of my favorites, Happy Together. That should be our theme for Wednesday nights by the Turtles. Sounds of Silence, and another one of my favorites, Winchester Cathedral.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Blake,
Yes, sir.
I got one pretty well like yours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that's one earlier than mine.
Yeah,
You've got the push button in the front. I don't have that.
yeah. And yours is on the top, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yours sounds better than mine.
Well, you know, John Livingston rebuilt this for me and gave it to me for all of the tutoring help I gave him, and I think he probably dressed it out to the nines. It plays beautifully.
That's cool.
Is it vacuum tube or solid state?
Oh, it's tube type. It's, I think, got 2 tubes in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the way mine is too. It's got 2 tubes.
But it's an RP 168
Oh, wow.
with a turntable in it. We have the same turntable or same player.
Yeah, mine needs a new idler wheel in it.
I was gonna turn this on.
Don Olson has those,
Well, let me see. Hold it up like this.
oh,
I'm
cool.
gonna turn this on, but I don't have an open outlet that will reach.
Oh, you're not very well prepared.
Just turn it with your
Not very well
finger,
prepared, yeah.
Mike.
Anyway, this is my nice little RCA.
Mike,
And this
just
is my, it's got my Beatles, first Beatles 45 record I ever had.
Oh, cool.
That's nice. Why don't you just spin the record and sing for us?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, just get a drill with a little wheel on it and set
Maybe
it
I'll get an
beside.
extension cord. I don't have an extension cord right now. Anyway. That's one of them. I've got a few of them here. I'll let somebody else show off theirs. There.
Anybody else?
Go ahead, Robbie.
I was gonna say, anybody else got a phonograph they want to show?
I didn't bring one.
You guys ever seen how fast these things change records? See if I can hold it up here because it's really close.
That's fast.
Wow.
They're done. And I think the one you have, Robbie, I think it's even faster than this one.
Oh. Good.
What you got there, Myron?
Yeah.
So this looks like a radio, but it's a combined radio and turntable. And if I can open the lid, yeah, there you go. So you lay it down and play 45s on it as you shove in through the side.
Oh, for Pete's sakes.
I think some of you guys have seen this before, but it's a radio net, which is from Norway. And when I bought it, I didn't know it had the turntable in it. Because it's extra fat.
You've got to move the arm by yourself. It's a not automatic arm.
I think so, yeah. You lay it down and then it has a thing that catches the arm and then you just shove the record in from the side and then put the arm on it. It's got a little catch here that pulls the arm down. So yeah, it doesn't, oh, and it has a little retractor. So if you had a small enough record, you could use a small hole instead of a big hole. But I don't know if anybody ever had such a thing. Oh, right. Oh, look,
Really
the record comes in from the bottom.
Yeah, you can see the slot in the back.
That's where the record comes in. Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody has a Filco close and play. One of the old ones.
I've got a Homestead here, and I don't need a cord for this one.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Wind it up though, and it's the coolest little portable. Oh, whoops. Oh, need more crank.
A little more speed to it, huh?
I'll get it going here.
Where's Bob Campbell when we need something cranky?
Yeah. I had an interesting meeting today with the SBE group, Society of Broadcast Engineers, over at Buster's in Beaverton.
Oh, cool.
18 of us there. And I got to meet Kent Randall. He's the president.
There, that's better.
Hey, yeah, that sounds good.
I don't hear it.
I don't either.
I did it first.
Record was
Oh, there it goes.
produced during World War I. Anyhow,
That's a cool set. Yeah.
works pretty cool. It's a neat little suitcase.
Perfect.
Homestead phonograph. And then with the wind-up crank on it, and it all works great. And a leatherette case. And so yeah, neat little wind-up acoustic phonograph.
Yeah. Somebody's took pretty good care of it.
How old is that?
Yeah, it's in good shape.
No, what year was it made? How old is
Neat
it?
little place here to keep your records. And then I got some new steel needles for it here, right there. You got to change your needle every time you play it. And they go
What?
down in there too. And then
What year was it, Mike?
there. There we go.
Mike, what year was that?
You know what? I'm really not too sure. I tried doing some research on it and didn't get too far. But I believe that it's in the mid-20s,
Wow.
like about 1923, 24, 25, somewhere in there. But I just don't have a whole lot of information on it. It's it's a homestead is the name of it. And pretty nice plain little phonograph.
Where do you get those hard needles?
Well, I got on an antique phonograph site back in New York a long time ago, and you could order needles in these packages by the 100, and so I ordered 1,000 of them. And gosh, it's been so many years since I did that. I can't remember what the name of them is. The name of it was, but it was a company in New York, and they specialized. They had everything for antique wind-up phonographs. They had the mica discs where you could rebuild the reproducers, and of course they had the steel needles, and they had all kinds of different things that you needed for your antique wind-up phonograph. And that was like about 08, I believe, right in there when I bought those. And because I've got another one out there, I've got a stand-up model as a Columbia Graphenola. And I rebuilt it and put a new mica in and did the wax, where you put the new mica on the reproducer, and did all of that. And I rebuilt that, and it plays good. But I got all the parts from these guys, and I'm trying to remember what the name of it is, but you might just get online, and I know they were in New York somewhere. I might try and see if I can find out. Also, Pat might know, because Pat is in the OTAP, Oregon Territorial Antique Phonograph Society. And there's some guys that are in that club that if you needed any parts or anything like that, they would know where to get them.
There's going to be a swap Saturday at the Grange with OTAP.
That's right. Yeah, that's right, Franklin. You're right.
So if anybody wants to come, there's free tables there if you want to try to sell stuff or come and visit or whatever.
Yeah. Anybody else got any phonographs?
I can show the two things I've got, but they were too big to drag in, so I'll just try to show you pictures.
Oh, good.
And I'm not share my screen right down here someplace. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That's an old radio. It comes in a great big case, or what do you call it, a stand. It's got 10 tubes, but there's the phonograph, and I rebuilt it's a magnetic phonograph, and I rebuilt the rubber grommets where the needle moves back and forth.
Oh, wow.
And that all works, but the sad thing about that is it's just the radio, and you see somebody tried to paint the piece white, and that's too bad.
That's a Victor. That's a Victor.
It is. It's like an RCA Victor, isn't it?
No. It's not an RCA Victor. It's a Victor radio.
Oh, okay.
One of the Radiola electrics. And if you rebuilt the reproducer on that, sir, you have very steady hands and you're a very patient person.
Hey, I fixed pocket watches. That's real easy. Pocket watches are hard.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
I've rebuilt a couple of those myself, and they are they take a abundance of patience.
Anyway,
nice.
This other one I have, if I can get it there. This is just the turntable to an old Victrola then I don't have the slightest idea where I got it, but it's got the crank and the motor and you know, the thing that sets the speed, and for some reason I saved it. So,
The governor, yeah.
yeah, so that's, like I say, the turntable is missing, but it spins and spins constantly.
Spring mechanisms there, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Anyway, like I say, I don't know where I got them, but that's the phonographs I have.
That's one of those things that there's probably somebody out there that really needs that thing.
Yeah. I wish I knew who it was, because I'd give it to them just to know, have a good home. Am I still connected here?
Yep,
Stop,
you're
stop
still on.
sharing there. There we go.
Yeah.
So
Well,
are you looking for some needles?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not. I've got about a dozen needles that came in that thing. They're
Okay.
probably all worn out.
okay.
I kind of fell into some needles too. I'll have to do some trading and swapping with Mike, but there was a fella out in Dallas, Texas. His name was Les Sim, and he actually took some needles into the fan steel factory there in Dallas and said, you know, what are the chances that I might be able to get some of these? And they went and got the engineering guy. He came out and says, oh yeah, he says, we still have the engineering spec for those. Happy to sell you some. Minimum order is 100,000.
Oh, no.
Anyway, he went for it. He went for it. But
Wow.
what he wanted, you couldn't get anymore. He wanted medium tone, which is what the orthophonic Victors were supposed to use. You can buy the heavy tone, or I forget what they are, the name for them, but coarse tone. But you couldn't get the medium tone. So I like Mike, I bought 1,000 medium tone ones, and I would guess I probably got 900 of them left. I was gonna say, if somebody's looking for
Yeah.
medium tone, I'm happy to share.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got some too. I might bring
So
You should,
if I go Saturday.
next time you come over, when you're validated healthy, we'll have you bring some with you, and we'll compare the sizes of them, and maybe
Yeah.
we'll see what the medium tones sound like.
Well, I have,
so medium tone is a specific size or
It was
grade of metal?
They had fine tone, medium tone, and I think it was either hard or heavy tone. The heavy tone were the larger ones, and the fine tone were much smaller, and the mediums
Yeah.
were in the center. And at the time, nobody had any. So I figured, well, if you can't get them, I mean, I paid $25 for 1,000 of them. I figured 5 times supply,
yeah, that's what I think what I did too.
discovering that it's a lifetime supply for several people. Like, so I'm happy to share if somebody wants.
Well, I might as well do this. I have one more left. And let's see if I get this here right. Let's see if you can see that. Can everybody see that one?
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. This is a dual model CB608.
Wow,
Drive.
that looks very different than my 606 dual.
Does it? Yeah. But it's a nice shape. I need to recap it. The Q doesn't stay real steady on the RPM. It's not that far off, but I need to go through it one of these days, and I'm going to recap it and then see if that doesn't take care of that. But other than that, it plays really good, and it's a good turntable. And I had it in my stereo system, and then right now I'm using a Techniques, and that's all out in the other room. I'm not going to drag the computer out there. But this is a nice dual. If anybody's looking for one, I make them a good deal on it. You know, I'd like to recap it though first, make sure everything's playing real good on it. So other than that, those are the turntables I've got tonight.
My brother's got one of those vertical players. Is it Sony?
What's that?
My brother's got one of the vertical players.
Oh, wow.
In other
Nice.
words, the disc is sitting vertical
Yeah.
rather than horizontal.
I think Bang & Olufsen made one like that too.
Well, that may be what it was. I don't remember what brand he had.
Uh-huh.
My roommate in school had a 506 a United Audio Dual, and I had a 606, and they're fairly independent of position also. And we actually put ours on the wall vertically. We hung them like pictures, and then we used reel-to-reel tape holders to keep the record on. And the arm would come over and play the record beautifully.
I'll be darned.
Wow, I'll be darned.
He's also got a linear tracker turntable. I don't remember whose that was either.
I couldn't afford those when I was in college.
Well, he couldn't either, but he's got them now.
My neighbor's got one of those Seaberg jukeboxes that plays the records just straight up and down. The needle comes in sideways,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it plays pretty good.
I think John Livingston had one of those. He had 4 or 5 jukeboxes. I guess they're all in Tennessee now.
Hmm.
But yeah, I had a rack that went around this way, and it would roll a record out and then play it, and then roll it back into the rack and then continue to turn.
Yeah.
Those things are quite mechanical. All of the stuff that goes into one of those, and then even having the stylus and everything have the right amount of pressure and to be able to follow the record as it's playing vertically. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into one of those things.
Depending on whether you're an owner or a tech, they're either a mechanical marvel or a mechanical nightmare.
Right.
So Brian's back there doing his art.
Yeah, he's back there doing some wood burning.
Uh-huh.
So
Good
Mike,
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
you said you were working on a dual and I got in here late. What model dual was that?
Just 608 direct drive. I just need to, it works fine. I just need to recap it. That's all. I haven't gotten into it.
I'm amazed how much different that is than my 606.
Yeah, I'd like to see your 606.
It's a great big wood base thing. It's got the wood base on it, and it's direct drive also, but no front controls. It's old school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got a dual 1215.
Yeah, my dual 606 looks more like your 1215 and 1228 than it does his 606, which is right over his shoulder there.
Yeah.
608, yeah.
Wait, sorry.
And then the other vintage one I have is a Gerard 210.
You got a nice big stack of Heathkit stuff behind you too.
Yeah, I kind of like Heathkits.
I had that whole stack when my mother-in-law, she was going to throw it in the trash. And I said, no. That Williamson amplifier and that preamp and that AM tuner and FM, all that stuff can come home with me.
Uh-huh.
Hey, the Williamson amps are quite valued on eBay.
Quite valued 20 years ago too.
I mean, a working one that's been refurbished, recapped, right now is anywhere from $600 to $1,200.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Per channel.
I think I got about 350 for mine. So that was good money 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a nice amplifier, and it really was not hard to work on. Well, what's everybody working on these days?
Well,
Trying to keep out of trouble.
Mike, well,
I just finished working on their pilot and then didn't do much to that, and it just came to life. Right now I'm working on a Filco Model 45, and that is the butterfly radio. And I thought I had everything for that thing, and I found a speaker that I thought was going to work. And when I checked it, it was fine. And then, of course, Murphy's Law, of course, when I get the speaker all mounted in there, and I had to build mounts for it and do all this other stuff, because originally the radio, someone had stuck a permanent magnet speaker in it. And then they just took the two the two wires that went to the field coil, and they just joined them together. And so, so needless to say, this thing had been really hacked up pretty bad. And then I went ahead and got this speaker all mounted, and then the field coil went open.
Oh, shoot.
And then I looked at it and it looked like somewhere along the line, somebody had driven a screw down through the winding. And so there was really not much hope for it. So, but it's, I think Blake says he thinks he might have one for me. Is
Yeah, I got some T.
5-inch
5-inch field coil.
5-inch 1200 ohm field coil.
Maybe somebody ran the screw in there to make continuity.
Well, yeah, I don't know, Bruce.
I'm voting for special mounting hardware.
I'm thinking that, yeah, it was probably somebody's extended mounting hardware that they got a little bit froggy with.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And
they deck screwed it, huh?
yeah, they deck screwed it all right. They went a little too deep on the mounting there, and it continued right on down into the coil.
Ran the screw into it until I got 750 ohms and called it good.
Yeah.
Yeah, how would you measure that?
This is my project tonight.
Nora?
Nora.
Nora,
Yeah.
that's the German radio from 1938. It was brought over by its owner as a World War II souvenir. And
Nice.
anyhow, it's the one I've talked about before that had all of the weird rimfire tubes where the connection to the tube base was on the rim. And anyway, I'm about halfway through it now. Looks a lot different than the pile of debris and dirt that you saw last time. I'll turn the camera on it so you can see it. That's it right there.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And it's a very interesting radio. It's a 5-tube superhet. And it is actually it's a German radio made for the German market, but it has what's it say here? Betriebsspannung 110, 125, 220, 240 volt Umschlagbar. So it'll do 120 volts. And so hoping to get that all wrapped up and done. It took me a year to find the tubes for it. And I've got one broken tube, I think, sitting here. Well, just let me show you one of the tubes. I'll just reach over here and get one.
So all the tubes were bad?
Well, most of the tubes were missing.
Oh, okay.
One of the tubes was there, but had a minor problem in that the glass envelope was gone. But this is one of the tubes here. You can see it's got a missing plate cap on it.
Yeah.
But you can see does not have regular pins.
Mhm.
This particular tube is a CL4, and I have a replacement for it as well. I don't have a tester for them, so what I strive to do was to buy 5 Newell stock tubes, and I was able to do that. Every
what
one,
year?
1938, according to this,
1938.
1939. So this is not a people's radio. It's
Yeah.
I think 4
That was my question. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really nice, well-built radio, and it'll be fun to get it done. But
Yeah. No kidding.
anyway, all the caps are in picofarad, so I just changed to 20,000 picofarad cap.
So is it multi-band?
Yes, yeah, it's multi-band superhet, but it also has a feedback circuit in it. It does have one feedback circuit in it, which I thought was interesting.
All
Yeah,
right.
so an L tube, that means it's a power pin code.
Yeah, the CL4 is the audio tube. It has an ACH1, an AF3, an ABC1, and an AL or CL4, and an AZ1, which is the rectifier. Somebody out there knows those tubes really well. I don't.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah, the
bands did
ABC has
did
is
they have
the
over
detector.
there, Blake?
Long wave and short wave.
Oh, okay.
And the long wave one, it's kind of interesting. You can't really see it from the picture very well. I'll fold it around, maybe it'll be a little easier, but this is one of those radios that had the stations top and bottom, and in between were all the different countries you could get.
Oh, yeah.
And it's probably hard to see in the camera, but it has all the different countries listed.
Yeah, the ABC is the detector.
Yes, that's correct.
Because the A is a diode and the C is a triode, all in the same envelope.
Ah. Yep, you're right. It's interesting. The cathode on German tubes is drawn as a large dot in the bottom.
Yep.
Their schematics are actually from this vintage, 1938. They're not incredibly informative, but the later ones, you can actually look at the schematic and determine such things as the wattage of the resistors and the voltages of the capacitors just by the schematic diagram they use.
Yeah, the People's radios only had like 2 or 3 tubes.
Yeah. I think the last one I worked on was a 38, and it had 2 tubes.
Yeah, the three tubes were the later ones with the dynamic speaker.
Yeah, no, this one still had the pivot speaker.
The reed.
Yes.
What was the frequency?
It was shortwave and AM. It was shortwave and broadcast. So it's kind of interesting because the dial was flat and it had numbers from 0 to 100 in white in one direction and from 0 to 100 in the other direction in red. And that center point was the break point between long wave and broadcast. But those are the bands it had.
But I mean, the People's Radio, what was the frequency that they broadcast on?
That was the People's Radio.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, they didn't have shortwave. That was verboten.
Okay, I see.
And they used to run around with their little radio frequency tracking radios, looking at your local oscillator setting to determine what you were listening to. And if you weren't listening to the right thing, came in with rifles.
Oh, you need a TRF then.
Yeah. And if you lived in England, they were looking to see if you had the license if you paid your fee that year.
Right, if you paid your taxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your EDC taxes.
Depending on how many tubes you had, that's determined your taxes.
And there's an interesting story. I restored a radio for Frank Rosada many years ago. It's been close to 30 years ago. And it was a Zenith Walton set. The model number on it was 8S232. And if you know your Zenith radios, you realize that they didn't make an 8S232. But the export model did. They rolled the oscillator back up into the converter circuit to reduce it by 1 valve to make it more competitive on the market. And that radio did not have AM on it. It had broadcast. I'm sorry, it had long wave and 2 shortwave. And that was a fun one to restore.
I'll be darned.
I'll be darned.
Until recently, I don't know how long ago this was, but maybe 5 or 8 years ago, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal that there were still people in Britain using black and white televisions because the license was cheaper.
Goodness sakes.
That's probably, yeah.
So they had the last black and white televisions on the planet.
Probably Murphy's. I think Murphy was about the last manufacturer of black and white TVs over there.
Hey, just to change the subject just for a second, I was wondering, did Warren make it on has Warren been on since the new year?
Yeah,
Warren
he has.
Okay, because I didn't know if he knew that he had fractured his hip. And
Oh, I hadn't heard that. Oh,
yeah, he sent me an email a while back. I didn't make it last time there, but that's why he missed a time before because he had fractured a hip and had to have a partial hip, I guess, replacement or something like that. So
yeah. Oh wow.
I didn't know if he mentioned anything or not, but since I don't see him on here tonight, so
So in Great Britain, they had 441 lines. And so when they went to color, didn't they go to PAL format at that point?
Yes.
It makes sense. It's where they are now.
And so the 441s were basically obsolete at that time then? Or did they run them in parallel for a while?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Let alone at the 50 hertz refresh rate.
Yeah, well, they were pretty early on doing frame doubling because they flickered so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't interleaved, right?
Yeah, it was interleaved.
Yeah, that'd be pretty flickery.
Yeah, and so they started doing frame doubling well before we did over here.
Well, I found it interesting what RCA did on it was like it was actually a 6-tube radio with an RF amplifier. It was a AC/DC, and they had a 35Z5, which of course everybody knows it's got a tap on it on the filament for the pilot lamp. But instead of using that, they stuck a ballast tube in this thing, and they were taking the line voltage down to 6.3 volts through this ballast tube. And the only purpose of that whole thing was just to run the pilot lamp.
Gee Louise.
It was just like the thing was just totally unnecessary. Plus, it was just hotter than the dickens, you know, and all for the sake of saying that it was a 7-tube radio. So the marketing was totally different here in the United States. The more tubes, the better. And then, you know, rather than being taxed on them like they did in Great Britain. And so I just disconnected that ballast tube. I left it in there for show. And then I just wired the pilot lamp in right off the rectifier. Everything was fine and dandy, and it wasn't screaming hot. Jeez.
Anybody here
The
ever?
dumbest thing I ever saw.
Anybody here ever worked on a Clinton radio?
Yeah.
No,
They had fun stuff like that, Mike.
is that right? Yeah. Oh, I mean, I just couldn't believe it that they designed that.
I worked on a 10-tube Clinton. Only 5 of the tubes were in use, but the rest of the tubes had the filaments tied in them, so they didn't have to put a ballast tube in, I guess. But
Yeah.
they had interesting stuff in there, like they had a 12Q7 or 12SQ7 detector and a 12SQ7 AVC on it. You can get it out of 1 tube, but they split it and got it out of 2.
Out of 2, yeah.
A pair of 35Z5 or a pair of 50 L6s, I think, in parallel. I mean, the wires ran to everything in parallel, so it really didn't do anything.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they claimed it as a 10-tube radio with all the performance of 5.
Yeah.
They didn't use the second
That's
half
crazy.
advertising though.
What's that?
They didn't use the second half. They just said it was a 10-tube radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Clinton I worked on was a battery, 110 volt and battery set.
Oh,
You know, it was pretty standard. It didn't have extra tubes in it.
This one had a big cabinet, little chassis, gorgeous 3 or 4 color dial. I mean, it was an impressive looking radio. When I turned it upside down and I started looking at, there were like 4 tubes in there that only had 2 wires running to them. I was like, what's this?
Wow.
It's like a Japanese transistor radio with extra transistors in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All marketing.
1 pin cut off of some of them.
Yep. Used as diodes.
Yeah, the one I saw had all 3 transistor leads soldered to the same trace.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were in there on the top, but if you looked underneath, they were all soldered together.
Wow.
Oh man.
Wow.
They were probably the duds in the factory, and they put them in the radio so they could get the count up.
Who knows?
Yeah, I haven't seen them all tied together, but used as diodes, you know, but wow.
Gentlemen, this is Jim, KO6T. I don't usually have much to say because I learn more by listening, but I've seen that 45 little record player on Blake's desk reminds me of a video I just saw a couple of days ago about an early format war. The format war was between 45s and LPs, and basically between the Columbia Record Company and RCA, the giant RCA. RCA did not want to manufacture and promote LPs because it wasn't their product. They eventually had to give in because the LP was obviously a superior format. But this video is to be found on YouTube. There's a person there from England. His video his name is, or his video is called Techmoan, Techmoan. And you will all find it very interesting because he's very much into vintage gear of all sorts, audio and video and tape recorders and everything. Mostly, however, from the a newer era than the 30s, mostly from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Techmoan. I suggest you have a look at it.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Thanks.
I think that's a play on the way that Tech Man is pronounced in England, Techmoan. I think that's what that is. But it's very, very interesting. He has a whole series of interesting videos, and this one was most fascinating. It seems that Columbia was ready with the LP format already in the late 30s, but they were prevented from introducing this by something called the World War II, and finally got around to it in 1947. And the whole history is fascinating, and I suggest you have a look at this video on YouTube. So I have I have several turntables from the 70s and 80s. I'm a classical music buff and have, well, probably a couple thousand classical music records and still listen to them all the time, actually. And an interesting controversy came up early in the CD era as to whether CD sounded, there was something wrong with CD and it didn't sound right somehow, and analog is still better. So I find it quite interesting now that the LPs, the vinyl, has made such a big comeback, and I haven't heard a real explanation of why that is, but now people are paying $20 or more for records.
It's there's no reason for it. That's a characteristic of a lot of the music buffs, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was the way it was when I was in college in the 80s. You know, the guy would put, I don't know, $1,800 into his turntable. So and he's got a solid teak block, and then on the top of that, it's like a piece of aluminum. It's about 3 inches thick. So I say there's no wow, right? So okay, Can you hear that? Well, no.
I don't know. When I think of 3 inches of aluminum, I go, wow.
It was amazing. That thing probably weighed, 80, 90 pounds, that turntable. It was.
I have a question for Jim. So back at the end, during that very same period of time, there used to be a record collecting organization. I think it was called the Musical Heritage Society. And they used to turn out half-speed masters and very clean vinyl at the very end of the era. Did you ever get involved in that?
Well, only as a producer of classical music records, MHS, Musical Heritage Society. There were records that came out then, I don't know if they now, they actually ran at 45, super high fidelity records and all kinds of things that were meant to improve the quality of records. But basically the controversy is whether digital somehow lacks something that analog has. It's kind of like tubes versus transistors, except I think that you can actually measure the difference between those two. I believe the difference between analog and digital, I think in the early years, the 80s of digital, there was a difference. It's because people didn't know how to record properly in digital. So they produced very, very bad recordings, but it wasn't necessarily the fault of the digital methodology.
Jim, wasn't it that they
remember
just
hearing something about the difference being in the sample rate used in the digital analog converters, had a lot more to do with the quality of the recording.
that's
Well,
what
that
I
may be,
understand.
but
too.
the sample rate now is, well, I mean, I presume they've improved their methods over the years, but it's certainly way, way beyond what human hearing is supposed to be able to hear. Maybe that's the error. Maybe people can hear more than people realize.
Well, now the new thing that they're doing is like, for instance, with your real popular classic rock artists like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, and people like that, but a lot of different artists actually, they're taking the old albums, the old recordings, the old masters, and then they're doing what they call digitally remastered. And then they're making new vinyl out of that. And it does more than anything else, I think, just because the record's brand new. It's one good reason why they sound a lot better, than like a record.
All I want to know is that they finally.
I can't tell the difference, but they say it's supposed to be digitally remastered and all of this stuff, and you put it on the turntable, it sounds great. It sounds brand new because it is. So
I suspect the thing is just that the limitations on the vinyl, they have to record, they have to do the levels and the mixing different and stuff, and some people just prefer that sound. It's BS. most of the stuff has been digitally mastered that they produce now and stuff like that. So and you can go, there's little tricks they do stuff like that, but the Nyquist theorem is sound, and if you do a sample at least twice or faster the rate of the highest frequency, if you use the proper filtering and stuff like that, it comes out exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just it's like the transistors in the tube things and stuff like that too, and
well, it's
so many
marketing.
variables in there.
It's marketing, Mark, more than anything.
It is marketing too, and it's fine. It's great that they like that. And maybe it's a little more mellow, whatever like that. But it's.
I'm still waiting for a decent pressing in Hotel California.
So my buddy who had that turntable, right? He actually bought one of those master records. Now, and I think it's about 1984. He bought one of those. It was 1812 Overture.
I have that one.
And he actually was sent. Was it a master? Is it a master
yes,
record?
It's a master, and I know what you're going to talk about. Go ahead and tell them.
So, anyways, they actually used real cannons from that era to record it. And so you look at that, and they have all the little lines, and then when the cannons go off, it's like a 1/4-inch gap. So as it's doing this, right?
And there's a warning. There's a warning on the record.
Yes.
That tells you to not turn it up too loud, or be careful with your turntable, because at the end the cannons will rip the needle out of your.
And then in the digital, when the CDs first were coming out, when the CDs were first coming out, Telarc, which was the big company doing the digital recordings, they did it with digital with the real cannons and stuff too. And their warning was because it's gonna rip the snot out of your speakers, because it's gonna be, the dynamic range is so much greater.
I have that CD. Yes.
Yeah, I do too. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But I also have I have from Mercury. They went and rebuilt. I may have told this before, but they went and rebuilt the original. They used the movie soundtrack for the dynamic range. They could get almost 90 dB dynamic range on analog with the soundtrack off of movies, 35 millimeter film, and they went and rebuilt the original tube equipment and had the master tapes and remastered them onto the digital and stuff. And I have a CD. It's a collector CD, and it's amazing because you can just crank the volume way up and hear a trace of hiss in the background. That's from the original analog, track. But that's it. it has a dynamic range, because what they did, they pioneered the 3 microphones hanging in the hall, and they had the conductor, whoever, played a louder passage. They set the levels, and then they did nothing else. And so that way they never overloaded it. And it was, and you had the full dynamic range from the quietest passage where you could hear the, you know, the papers rustling and stuff to where it's just, you know, the crescendo. So pretty neat stuff. And that was done back in the late 50s and early 60s. And it's just amazing.
Yeah, well, my personal experience, I happened to attend an outdoor concert where they did the 1812 overture, and they had the live cannon fire at the appropriate moments.
Oh, geez.
Nice.
No recording has ever sounded quite right ever since.
Yeah,
There's just something about listening to the Army band and those 105 howitzers going off, echoing around the Catskill Hills.
Those things are stinking loud.
That might be because your ears have never been the same since.
Right.
Got hearing aids now, that might help.
or you have to be producing what, below 20 hertz with the low frequency part that's missing, that you're not going to get on almost any loudspeaker system. So
That must have been early synths around.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that my favorite format actually is open reel tapes. 7.5-inch open reel tapes of classical music are I don't know, they have a sound which I think is incomparable. But then I grew up collecting classical records basically, so that's my thing. And some open reel tapes, they were extremely expensive, and now they're unobtainable because nobody makes them anymore. Except they do make them in 10.5-inch versions that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I don't get those either.
You should get to know Jerry Hertel. He's very much into reel to reel, and
Yeah.
Got a whole floor of his house full of them.
I don't know what it is, but I've got a bunch of Telarc discs, and they seem to be a cut above the
yeah,
rest of them.
they're very good.
Isn't there a frequency limitation in the vinyl of somewhere around 10 or 12 kilohertz?
I think that they can make it up to 20, but it's how would most of us know?
Well,
That's
yeah,
true.
no, that's
Anymore.
probably
That's the
true.
point.
But I remember the early reel to reels. You know, their big marketing thing in the late 60s, early 70s was that they had the frequency response with a Dolby system up to 18 to 22 kilohertz, whereas the vinyl would only reproduce up to 12.
My Sony Super Beta Hi-Fi, which was what I had as a reel to reel, it was 20 to 20.
Yeah.
Whether it was true or not.
Those did that pretty easy.
It sounded wonderful. Hence my records, most of them I have were, they would go from being played once and ripped to Super Beta Hi-Fi, and from there I'd rip them to cassette for the car and put the record away.
Yeah.
But I was mentioning to Jim earlier, the Musical Heritage Society, in the very end of the last pressing of records, they had half-speed mastered records that were all classical music. I called them my generic records because they came in a white case with black printing on them, but no album art on them. But they were wonderful sounding in comparison to some of the standard classical music I had. I think I've got about 12 of those.
What do you mean? Did you say half speed? What do you mean by that?
Well, they were cut at half speed so that when you played them at 33, they would supposedly produce better sound quality.
Huh, I never heard of that. I mean, I've heard of them of 45 RPM standard LPs, sized LPs, but
these were not 45 RPM, they were 33, but they were cut at half that speed.
Yeah. My guess is that they were maybe they could do a more accurate cut, maybe or make sure it could track, the arm could track and cut properly at a slower speed, possibly.
Yep. Jim, are you local?
I'm up here in Portland, on the east side of Portland.
Okay, well, one of these times we get together at one of the club meetings, I'll bring you a couple of these half speed masters that are classical, and you can take them home and enjoy them and see what you think.
Oh, that's great, but I'm not attending the meetings right now. I'm still paranoid about COVID.
Join the club.
Yeah, well, I wasn't at the last meeting either, but you know what? I'm planning on being around for a few more years, so if you're not in a hurry.
One of these days I have to dispose of my classical music collection. That will be the real task.
Blake,
So-
I like the way you think. You're going to be around for several more years.
I'm-
Quite a few more years.
Well,
I like that.
I'm gonna work till I'm 66, and then I don't think my wife cares what happens, but you know, I'm worth more working now than my life insurance, so.
I'm 77.
Really?
Get prepared to be
I
extremely
wouldn't have guessed
busy
that.
and not have as much time as you've got now.
That's right. We don't know how it works, but it does work.
As soon as you retire, you're gonna find that your time is at a premium.
You're gonna wonder
Hey,
how the
Mark.
heck you got everything done when you worked.
Hey, Mark, I looked or Google searched on what vinyl can produce in frequency, and they said 7 hertz to 50 kilohertz on vinyl.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I think that's got to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting less than that here on this RCA player.
I believe you probably are.
Maybe with one playing if you're lucky.
It says it's capable.
Because it's gonna
of-
wear down, you know, at that 50 kilohertz stuff, you know, if it did.
That means that vinyl can take those frequencies, that frequency range.
Oh, maybe
kilohertz.
maybe a specific test, you know, sound or something like that, but I don't think it could.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but so what? Because
Well, is that current
What-
technology or the technology of 40, 50, 60 years ago?
It's the capability of vinyl that you could lay down that sound frequency on that vinyl. It's capable of laying, you could probably use it if you're calling an elephant it would come.
But can it reproduce that?
Well, the amplifier that I had purchased or built from a kid, a Dynaco, if I remember correctly, I'll have to look it up now, was that it claimed to have a flat response from 0 to 100 kilohertz.
but so what? None of us can hear up.
None of us could hear above
I'd like to know
20
what
kilohertz
everybody's
then,
range of
and
hearing
none of
is.
us today
Yeah.
can hear above
It
6
doesn't
kilohertz.
matter. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
but
wanted to,
elephant-
they could make the digital thing reproduce up to whatever frequency you want.
Well,
That's just, they
That-
don't bother.
all that
'cause
does is give you a technology
material.
bragging rights and the ability to
Well,
hype your
That's
market.
exactly what it is.
So
If
that
you're
way,
wor- if
that
you're
way
working
you know
with
your dog can hear it, you know.
Yes, there
even
you
if
go. You
can't.
got dogs. The Beatles put
So-
on a dog whistle, I think, didn't they? On a
Yeah.
record or a song?
So if you have vinyl at 50 kilohertz, you're gonna have a damn small needle to get between the wiggles.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
That's right, exactly.
Well, you said Beatles laid
Oh,
laid
So
down.
one
and
of
other
the
people
early
laid
radio
down.
transmitters I worked
dog
on was
whistles.
operated between 25 and 125 kilohertz.
Yeah.
Does everybody still remember how many wiggles on a typical LP?
No.
Mm.
2, 1 on each side.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say.
that's like, I did that to my granddaughter. I putting a record on one Christmas. She was over here. I think she was like 9. And I said, I asked her how many grooves she thought was on the record, you know, and she goes, I don't know, 1 million. And I go, no, one on each side. She got mad at me.
What you got?
David, you were wagging a little something down there a minute ago. What do you got? It looks like a dog and a ball, but it used to be test equipment. There you go. That's not test equipment.
No, I was just trying to
I don't know what
further on the
that
conversation of what people were working on.
Wow.
So anyways, I got one of these from the auction.
Nice.
So it's a little 950B.
Ooh.
And so what I did is I went through it and I put like the 1% caps in it and stuff like that. So, and it's pretty spot on in the middle of the range. And of course it falls off like all these things do, you know, because the way the bridge was built. So what I did is I did that, and then I put a fuse in it. And what else did I do? These were notorious for, like, you know, that you're supposed to tune them in, and especially like for leakage. It's like, you know, you turn it up, and then the eye closes. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And so what I did is I actually calibrated it. So it's a 2 microamps for electrolytic and 2 millivolts for 2 microamps for paper mica, and then 2 milliamps for electrolytic. So I got this finished, and then I said, oh, that was kind of fun. So what I did next was, let me see if I can share a screen. Yeah, let's do this one. Share. So I started working on one of these. This is a military capacitor tester, and I got two of these.
Really?
And so this is for measuring leakage. This is like for electrolytics. This is measuring insulation for, you know, mylar and mica and paper and stuff like that.
Your polarization?
It's insulation. It's just what the leakage is.
Okay.
And then this is for measuring capacitance on this side here. So it's kind of cool. And it goes up to 600 volts. You can set the meter for either 60 volts full scale or 600 volts full scale for leakage. For insulation, it goes from like 1 mega ohm up to 10,000 mega ohms.
What's the model number on that data plate there?
It's a ZM3-U. I have both the ZM3-U and AU. So anyways, I'm going through this one right now, and you know, there's a lot of stuff in this thing, right?
Wow.
It's just full like this.
Wow.
And one of the things I'm working on is that this is the one I'm working on this is a 1 mega ohm 0.01% resistor.
Man.
And it's bad, right? So I chased it down, and I went through all this stuff and tried to figure out that's bad. So but the one I have that's bad happens to be somewhere back in here. You know, it's nicely covered up. So I'm working on that right now. And then another part of it is in the drum here, this is what you use for calibrating it. So there's you take it and you loosen this up, and you loosen this up, and then you have this drum that you move, and then you get it on and then you set for a minimum dip because it's a bridge, right? So you null it out, and then that's where it goes. And then there's another little capacitor. There's another value. Where is it? Right here. Between these three things, you can go and then you can dial it in. But that's not the whole story. Inside the drum here is a rheostat. It's a potentiometer. And actually, it's on this side. And the only way you can get to it is that you have to be able to turn that slightly. And there's a screw down in here, about 2.5 inches deep, that you have to turn to get that potentiometer. And then that means I either have to take out all of this stuff to turn it, then put it all back together and test it. You know, you do that a couple times and you're going nuts. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to stuff this with a rag, and I'm going to try to drill a hole in through this plate here where that screw is. Like drill about 3 or 4 holes and get a screwdriver in that way. And that way I can adjust that potentiometer. It's on a slot. It slides on a slot, the potentiometer. I don't really know how it's made, but they say, yeah, you have to go and adjust that. And that's so you can get down, you can measure like a picofarad. Right now it measures about 100 picofarads fairly well, except for when it gets above 250 to 10,000 microfarads. That resistor is bad, so that's what affects this measurement on this scale here. But the rest of them work really quite accurately. So I mean, it's within, percentages type, 3-4% type thing.
That's real interesting.
It's a pretty interesting piece of test equipment, actually.
Yeah.
So I got one of them kind of semi-working, and I left it alone. The issue is that when I put 600 volts on here, it's actually only providing 570 volts to the terminals, which means that my resistor for my ammeter is low. It's actually too small, right? So I have to
too high.
No, it's too low, right? If it's putting too much current through, it means your resistor is too small. So so I have to, in order to full scale it, I have to turn it below 600 volts. So it means your resistor is too low. Which I thought I had exactly the same thing. It was like, but whoever finds a resistor go low, I don't know, but it must have been made that way. So I got to fix it on one of them. Then this other one I have right now, that's the last thing I need to fix on that. And then it's pretty much spot on. But this one here, I've got to fix that. This 0.01% 1 mega ohm resistor, and then I got it. But that's, like I said, it's way back in here, and it's just going to play hell to try to get to. I'm going to just try to. I'm just going to try to go.
Is that a 1 meg?
It is a 1 meg, yeah.
Okay.
I guess 1 mega ohm, right? And I'm going to try to go and put a standard resistor across it.
How many watts?
It's got to be real small because it goes straight to my meter. So it's a 50 microamp meter.
Okay, because that to me looks like it's a is it a ceramic?
It's a wire wound ceramic.
It's a wire wound resistor.
Yeah. So it can't be that high power.
Yeah.
No, it's not high power.
But now, did you say it was low in value or high?
This resistor is open. So the best that I can measure it across there, because like I said, it's way back in here, is it's about 22, 23 mega ohms.
Oh.
And I don't know if that's real number or not, because you got all that goop on it, the antifungal stuff.
Right. Is that in the power supply circuit or in the meter circuit?
No, it's off the bridge. The way that this bridge works is that you have you can, for the smaller capacitor sizes, it does a 1 kilohertz test signal, and then at the higher, like for electrolytics, it's a 60 hertz test signal. And this is one of the resistors that helps feed it. I'd have to go back and take a look at it.
Jeez.
How it fits in. But anyways, it's upstream. It's upstream of the potentiometer you use to balance the bridge. It's so it goes just from that to the meter, and so there's 50 microamps maximum through this because it's a 50 microamp meter, full scale. So it's probably something like 5 volts. I guess it would be 5 or maximum. Yeah, it's 50 microamps. So it'd be 50 volts maximum across it, right? Because if it's a mega ohm, it'd be 50 microamps then.
Do you have a schematic to work on that?
I do. I got, well, it's just, well, there's like 3 documents. Well, 2 documents you have to get. One of them is that it's the -35 manual, which is always in the military. That's the one you use for like repair, but it's not necessarily the repair manual, because then there's the -20P manual, I think it is. I don't have to go back and take a look at it. That's another manual that helps you help you do troubleshooting. So,
Especially when you put it back together and you have a few parts left over, huh?
no, God, no. It's like say this thing's just full, right? It's just, I mean, this is like the boxes, that's like
Wow.
14 inches by 12 inches by maybe 10 inches, and it's just full of stuff. So
Well, it's built like a brick shit house.
It is. That thing is really built strong, man.
yeah, it's a pretty cool. It's
It
pretty
is
cool.
pretty cool. I have a capacitance checker. It's called a tel ohm mic. It's also does capacitance, and then it does, it's also has an ohm meter or whatever inside of it too. It does a couple different functions. It's a tel ohm mic, but it's the same kind of unit in that it puts out around 600 volts, so, but and it's got an eye tube on it for telling where your capacitance is as you start moving the dial around.
Yes, it's like this one here.
What the capacitance? Yeah, basically the same kind of thing as that. Yeah.
Yeah. And this works pretty well.
Watch the eye tube, and then when the eye tube closes, and that's where you're on your capacitance. Mine's a little off, and I don't really use it for checking capacitors anyhow. I use it for getting high voltage and for putting on variable capacitors that are noisy and have a little hair fingers in between the plates.
Dendrites.
And it's kind of fun. You can you want to take the mica trimmers off, get rid of that, and then you hook the stator up to one side and the rotor up to the other side, and put like 600 volts through it. Then you just make sure you got a good wooden or plastic knob, and then you just carefully turn that capacitor from one side to the other, and it goes snap, 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 snap. It just starts burning those things off, as you rotate it back and forth until they're all gone.
Whisker burners.
Yeah.
So Mike, what sort
Whisker burners? Yeah, that's it. Like,
what sort of I know it's current's hard to measure, right? Because it's zero, or else it's big, right? So what sort of, do you have any idea what kind of the peak currents you're seeing on that then?
The current?
Because this will only put out 5 milliamps, or actually it's four. I have it 4.5 milliamps right now.
It's not a lot of current, I'm sure, Dave. But I don't know what it's rated at or anything. I think there may be an amp or milliamp meter on it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you're burning out little whiskers, it's probably the capacitance of the source that burns out the little hairs in your.
Yeah.
Because 5 milliamps won't burn out anything.
But you're not continually doing it either. You're like you said, you have much time to recharge that cap before you hit the next whisker.
Yeah, you're right, and that's what it's doing. It's loading up and discharging, and I think more, and that's doing the whisker burning there, not your current. That makes more sense.
I don't think I can find my.
Well, guys, I'm going to bail out tonight. I'll see you at the meeting Saturday.
Meeting Saturday.
The show.
Oh, that's right. That's this weekend, right?
Yeah, the antique show, whatever it is.
Have fun. Say hi to everybody for me.
Actually, I think I'm gonna have to take off too.
Yeah, my wife.
I do too. I'm not gonna. I was gonna go Saturday, but I don't think I will. And a lot of that depends. Tomorrow I'm gonna get tested. If there's a chance I'm still positive, I'm not gonna go.
Study hard.
Oh yeah, I will. I'll let you know if I pass.
I need about 2 minutes with you and Franklin, Mike and Franklin.
Okay, well, we'll see you Saturday then.
All right. We'll see you, Robbie.
I have a little quickie here. If you've got a Canon printer, well, they're running out of chips for their toner. So they're actually selling chipless toners now. And Canon says all you have to do is ignore the request, to buy the original Canon, and the only thing that happens is you don't have any level sense. In other words, when you run out of toner, you run out. And so it turns out with the Canon, I guess you can just put in anybody's toner.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it gives you a warning, you just ignore it.
Yeah, that was the improved models with the ones that, well, Blake will tell you about that too. But it's the same thing as the current coffee makers. You know, the later versions, maybe I heard it here from you guys, but the later versions read the ink color, and that's how they could tell if it was the approved Keurig pod or not. And the coffee makers, you know, that was the only difference.
Wow.
They make you buy their product.
I think HP is still pretty insistent on their products, though.
They've actually gone the other way, Bruce. They've actually made it almost impossible for you to use anybody else's ink.
Yeah. Exactly.
On the newer ones, the older ones, they didn't have the Acumen chip on them. So
yeah, the newer ones, they've gone overboard, but they've also got that instant ink program that's actually pretty decent.
Yeah, I like the instant ink.
It's about half the price of
like
buying.
having Big Brother watching your printer all the time.
It's kind of cool though.
And it's cool though. Yeah, no, I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. They let me know when I'm low on ink, and they send it to me, and it shows up on my front door. Here's your ink. You're getting low. You better put some in.
Yeah, all for $3 a month.
I pay them. I think, what is it? I'm thinking I'm paying up to about $10 a month now, something like that. But it's worth it.
Brian's printer over here is on instant ink. We're still on the 50 page per month, and it's $2.99. And
oh wow, you guys are doing great. I'm not. I'm going through ink like crazy.
Yeah, well, that's when you're doing photos that really suck it up.
It does.
Yeah, that's where the instant ink program, because they charge by the page, not by the usage.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So you print an H in the middle of the page, and they're making money. You print a photo, and they're losing money. Hey, Franklin.
Yeah.
Question for you. And if you want to go offline with this, just tell me. What is going on with regard to training at the club? Because right now there are two silos, one that Mike and I have spent time working on, and to ensure fluidity of program and liability to, for the club and safety. And then Pat's got this thing that he's doing on the first Saturday. And it sounds to me like you guys are going to jump right into radio repair, bing, bang, boom. And they're wanting all of us to sign up for it. And I'm getting calls from people who are saying, well, I wanted to let you know I'm here to help you. And I said, well, which time? And they're confused too. So I didn't make the last meeting. Can you tell me what on?
Well, they really haven't made a decision yet, the board members or anything on the first Saturday ideas. So that's still up in the air. There's at least two first Saturdays we want to use for auctions. But we haven't done anything like that. Your guys' program is totally separate. Yours is going to be at the end of every meeting and be totally separate. So the idea is maybe have first Saturday to have like remedial repairs, just like basic stuff like soldering or stuff like that. And that's what he brought up on the last meeting. But the two that we were thinking about doing are just two auction days on first Saturdays. And we kind of we talked about that. Your guys' thing is totally separate from all that kind of stuff. And it's really not involving people that are in your program. It's just anybody that wants to come and do things. And we want to do a lot of training. And one of the things is too, we want to get the tech. One of the things that we brought up at the meeting was the tech at Tektronix there. Of course, COVID is all in, has messed up all this anyway, but they brought up that Tektronix actually will do some oscilloscope training. And that's kind of things we want to take and go there instead of having oscilloscopes there and stuff. And if they can, because the idea was, Pat's idea is to rent some equipment out and stuff like that. But we really need training before we rent stuff out. I mean, they need to know what they're doing before we can
Right.
let them borrow stuff. And that's kind of like what we've done. That's why we were thinking of, different equipment that we want to do to rent out basically, or just let them borrow it and then bring it back, sort of like the library thing. We've already had some donations of a isolation transformer and a Variac, but so that kind of stuff. I don't know. Pat brought it up, but it's really not been a decision, and I've kind of like stepped away from it a little bit because I tried to, we talked about that quite a bit, but your guys' thing is totally separate. It shouldn't
Okay.
involve you guys at all. You guys aren't even, involved in that. Now, if you want to do something like that, where it's like a radio thing, go ahead.
So one of the things that I wanted to, the reason I asked this is that from my conversations with Pat, it's kind of like, well, we're all going to get together and fix radios. And I said, well, what about safety? Well, they all know about safety. What about liability to the club if somebody gets hurt? Well, people have their own insurance. And he didn't seem to have it well thought out, because what Mike and I will do is before we ever start talking about working on a radio is you got to have some foundation to work on. Maybe not George Kirkwood's foundation or Bruce's or Dave Weiss's or mine, but they got to have some foundation and they've got to have safety.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned that, we might be, hopping over the fence into the pen with the bulls before, we have an escape route planned. I just want to make sure, because what I heard, I was not in the meeting very well. I was in and out of consciousness in the meeting. I should probably not have come in at all, but I heard something about, well, what other equipment are we going to need? And I heard the signal tracer and oscilloscopes, and I sort of was like, okay, we're gonna jump into electronics 301 day one, and that's not going to work. But thank you for clarifying that. Mike and I have a bit of work to do, especially me, because I've got some printing to do, or printing to get to Brian Toon to do. All right, well, that gives me something to work on. I just, from what I've gathered, is it seemed like we had two different platforms and people want to help me, but they don't have a Saturday to give. My first Saturday of every month, I have some responsibilities and commitments to our church. So I'm not going to be available for one of those unless it's, something very specific and special, and we can make it outrank my other commitments.
Yeah, we haven't committed to any of that, so that's one thing. But just to let you,
I feel a little better about it.
Okay, sounds good.
So at Vintage Tech, we have an instrument pool that we loan out. It's mainly set up for kids, STEM type of things. And, we've got oscilloscopes, signal generators, a lot of different counters, you name it. Anyway, we've got quite a big cart of stuff that we can loan out for a specific amount of time.
Jerry brought that up, and so that was kind of one of the things, because we
okay.
really need we don't need, and that was one thing, somebody brought up bringing have someone donate an oscilloscope, but Jerry was like, well, we better have training before we, let somebody blow up oscilloscope, basically. So that was kind of, the idea that, well, we really don't need an oscilloscope unless we have people that know how to use them first. And that was one thing that we could maybe, we haven't really talked to anybody at Tech about it, but that would be something where we could have like one day where we show up, 3 or 4 of us or something like that, and then get some training at Tech for oscilloscopes. And that was kind of what Pat and Jerry brought up.
So I watched an engineer at Tektronix bring in a AA5, All-American 5, and hooked it up to his scope, plugged it in, and I watched the ground wire and the probe cable just turn into instant smoke. Oh, no isolation transformer, huh?
That what they call engineering power S?
Was that a test?
That made quite a stink. Anyway,
milk, I bet, right?
Franklin, I talked to Pat a little bit. I just put my 2 cents in, and it's nice to have the test equipment for the club if that's going to be used in demonstrations or whatever, that type of thing. It's kind of been my experience, or the experience of people that I know that have gotten into this club and started wanting to learn how, or just learn how to learn the safety, and then learn how the theory is, and then start working on radios. And as far as the equipment is concerned, anybody that's that motivated and really wants to work on radios, everybody that I know up till this point in time, they've gone out and gotten their own equipment because they want to have their own workbench at home. They want to have a tube tester, a signal generator, variac, and isolation transformer, you name it, on the whole schmear. And then you learn that you need these items to be able to go ahead and do good, proper work. And so I don't know how having the equipment on a loan out basis is going to actually work out in the long run, or are you going to have people that are going to borrow the stuff, and then how long are they going to have it, and then decide that maybe they don't need to buy it by their own. I mean,
Pat's idea was just
it's almost taking away the motivating factor of somebody getting their own equipment for their own shop at home. If you're going to start loaning it out or that type of thing, like you would the library books, so I don't know. To me, we've never needed it before. I don't know why we need to start doing this now, is my question.
Well, the idea is to get young people and people inexperienced people into this, and to go out and spend a couple $100, $500 or something like that to get a bench set up.
Well, you do it a little bit at a time. If you're motivated on doing this stuff, that's what everybody's always done. Everybody that I know that does radios, they've all gone out and bought their own equipment.
Yeah. So what I intend over the next year or two is I'm not planning on going any further than a multimeter, a tube checker, and probably a signal generator. Those are kind of the 3 primary pieces that you can use. Advocate somebody have a transistor radio laying around for certain things and some clip leads, but I don't plan on making engineering level people out of this, and I'm probably not going to go anywhere near as far as George Kirkwood or Sonny think we should on a basis, because it would take us 2 years and everybody would be bored. But I want to spend at least the winter and into the spring covering those things, so that when people go to work on it, they know what a resistor is and how to read it, a capacitor and how to read it, and how to use a meter and how to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can start talking about it. But I also don't plan on going outside of the All-American 5, because I think that's a great place to start. And it doesn't matter what All-American 5 they've got, who made it or when, they're all similar enough that we can talk to them. And of course, the demonstrator I've got's an All-American 5, and then we can go from there. But the AA5 is the foundation for this whole thing.
And if you can be safe with an All-American 5, you can probably be safe with anything.
Yes, although 750 volts across the transformer is nothing to have fun with.
No, but still, with because we got those special considerations, and so that's
The first time somebody was over here at WRNO and went snooping around the wires, I've got these great little probes that are about this long, a screwdriver edge on one, a poker on the other, and a little notch in it to grab a wire with. And I think I gave away 20 or 30 of those. But the first time I was over here, and I won't mention the club member's name because everybody knows this individual, started probing around the inside of it all, like a 1932 or 1933 Filco with a standard slotted screwdriver. I about lost it. radio on, and he was probing around, digging through the wire. Like, no. that same individual created some smoke on my workbench a few times.
Huh?
But yeah, I don't want to, I'm very cognizant of, after 11 years of WRNO, it's safety, safety, safety. This bench that I'm sitting at is actually double isolated. Everything sits on a 20 amp isolation transformer, and then the power supply that I got here is further insulation, and then all the plugs that are up here are isolated from the rest of the bench, so that all your test equipment and your radio is isolated from each other. And not everybody can do that, but we can sure talk about, variacs and isolation transformers, and how we need both, and one isn't.
Yes.
An auto transformer is not a transformer, not a safety device. So, things we all know that others need to learn.
Mhm.
Anyway, I'm gonna take off, and so I probably will not be at the deal Saturday, and I wanted to go, but now I'm not gonna go. So,
Well,
and
Good luck on your test.
I'm going to recover one more day before
oh yeah, I'm gonna be recovering in the next
did you-
few
oh,
days.
I'll venture out on Monday.
Did
And,
you, did you get the Omicron or something like that, or what?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, I did.
I think Blake and I both had it.
Yeah. So
And,
I tested
I'm
positive.
gonna be tested tomorrow, Mark. So
I see. Okay, yeah.
yeah,
I just heard something today, and I haven't verified it yet, but I guess the Moderna shots were much better for protecting you from the Omicron. I gather.
yeah.
And
I would say that Omicron is not picky. It doesn't care if you're vaccinated or what color or gender you are. I'm vaccinated, I'm boosted, and
Yeah.
I still picked it up in a matter of,
that's what I understand.
30 minutes. So
Yeah.
I just had heard that the Moderna apparently was a much more effective than the Pfizer, which just luckily if that's the case, that's what we had here locally. Was
yeah,
the
that's
Moderna
what I
shot.
have. I have three Pfizers.
I had 2 Pfizers, and then we both had breakthrough cases.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I had 2 Pfizers and a Moderna follow-up.
That was probably wise. I had all 3 Pfizer, but I also understand that those who have a breakthrough case and catch this latest variant and slide through it, kind of like Mike and I, neither one had a few days that were very pleasant, but certainly skid through pretty easy. That we're supposed to have really good immunity now.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not going to test that.
that's the silver lining. That's the good news.
Yeah,
So
that's
did-
good. Yeah. It's just curious. I just so
So did you guys pass it on to your wife or kids?
I think my wife had it too.
Uh-huh.
And over here,
She's getting over it too. She's doing fine, or a lot better.
and
Both are.
we haven't had any symptoms, and I'm about 8 or 9 days past the symptoms, so they should have had it, but we're expecting that they're asymptomatic.
Oh.
Wife, and of course Brian's
Yeah.
helping the horse, so
Uh-huh.
but we're all vaxxed and boosted, and I didn't know for sure until this afternoon that I was positive.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And I'm gonna find out tomorrow. I have an appointment tomorrow to get tested. So
I'm hoping you're negative, because that means that I'm probably negative at this point too.
yeah, that's what I'm hoping, because I'm feeling negative. I'm feeling a lot better, but I'll go in there and let them let me know. So as soon as I find out, I'll give you the results too.
Yeah, I think I was
All right.
2 days behind you.
Everybody take care. Have a good week.
Yeah.
And then
Take care.
I'll see you next week.
I'm there
Cheers.
too, guys. See everybody.
see ya.
I know.
I know.